Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Daphne kisses Carter, as seen by Katie. Logan never anticipated seeing it, and once she did, she realized there was no turning back. Everything changed for Katie in the blink of an eye on what seemed to be a typical afternoon at Il Giardino, where the sound of glasses clinking and the smell of freshly baked bread blended with the laughing of regulars. After a long, annoying morning at Forrester Creations, when she heard too much about Brooke's most recent heartbreak and too little about her own needs, she had come there just to get a coffee and decompress. But destiny had other ideas. Katie froze as she turned the corner close to the private patio area. Carter Walton, the guy she had once allowed herself to envision a future with, was just a few feet away, kissing Daphne Rose in a private and unquestionably passionate moment. Katie's body froze, anchored to the spot like some harsh spectator to a private moment she was never supposed to witness, as her heart fell into her stomach. Carter, who was often so calm and collected, melted into her with an intensity Katie had only ever imagined as Daphne's hands curled around his neck, drawing him closer. The sounds of the restaurant blended into a low, meaningless hum, and time seemed to slow around her. Despite her desire to turn aside and forget the scene, Katie was unable to do so. Her fists clenched at her sides as she stared, her throat constricted. An overwhelming wave of emotions overcame her, including anger, embarrassment, betrayal, and, worst of all, a painful sensation of loss that she had not ever anticipated experiencing until this very moment. It wasn't as if Sarah and Carter had just announced their separation, but there had been an implicit understanding that they were gradually and meticulously restoring something valuable. Or so she believed. Any illusions she had been on to were dashed when she saw him like this, so effortlessly swept into someone else's arms. Desperate to hide from Carter and Daphne, Katie retreated as stealthily as she could, her heart thumping in her chest. She stumbled into the main dining area and apologized quickly after bumping into a waiter with a tray of sparkling water. She wanted to breathe, needed to think, but most of all, she needed to get away from the overwhelming tide of feeling that threatened to overtake her. Breathing heavily and her eyes burning from unshed tears, Katie hurried out into the parking lot. She tried to stabilize herself by leaning on her car for support. How was this possible for Carter? How could Daphne, who was kind and seems innocuous, betray her in this way? Had she been the only one who saw it coming? As though she had been living in a fantasy world while everyone else was aware of the true score, Katie felt stupid. The gut-wrenching loss soon gave way to simmering anger beneath the surface. She was worthy of better. Instead of someone who would be quickly sidetracked by the next attractive woman who smiled at him, she wanted someone who would pick her without doubt. Carter and Daphne, back on the patio, were unaware that their private moment had just been made public. Carter gazed into her eyes with a tenderness Katie would have recognized anywhere, and Daphne teased him with a soft chuckle against his lips, obviously smitten. They leaned into each other once more, unaware of the mayhem they had unwittingly caused, after Daphne muttered something that made Carter laugh. At last, Katie managed to gather herself enough to get into her car and leave, but her thoughts were racing the whole time. Should she go up to Carter? Should she demand an explanation and march back in there? Would facing him only deprive her of her remaining dignity, or worse? The fact that Carter might not even perceive it as betrayal was even worse than the betrayal itself. Perhaps what they had never seemed as significant to him as it had to her. No slap to the face hurt more than that notion. Katie's phone buzzed as she made her way back to her house through the twisting streets. Carter had texted me. The rudeness almost caused her to fling her phone across the car. Thinking about you. Hope your day's going better. Miss you. Considering her? Only minutes before, he had been daydreaming about Daphne's lips on his. Katie realized she couldn't act as though this hadn't happened, and she felt the sting of betrayal return. However, what action was she going to take? After Katie skipped their scheduled lunch later that evening, Brooke unexpectedly dropped by out of concern. Despite Katie's best efforts to appear normal, Brooke could tell something wasn't quite right. Katie broke under the pressure of her sister's anxious stare. From spotting Carter with Daphne to her internal conflict over whether or not to confront him, she told Brooke everything. As protective as ever, Brooke was furious on Katie's side. She pleaded with her sister to stop allowing Carter to trick her. Brooke didn't exactly think forgiveness was a good idea at the moment because she was still in shock from her own romantic setbacks. In her heart, though, Katie wasn't sure if she was upset enough to leave completely or if she still needed explanations, an apology, or perhaps even a last-ditch appeal from Carter that would convince her that he was sorry. The part of her that wanted him to stand up for her and somehow put things right was something she detested. Katie had already experienced too much heartache to expose herself to more. However, love always managed to make even the most intelligent women look foolish, and Katie Logan was no exception. In the meantime, rumors of the patio kiss began to circulate around the close-knit Forrester community. In Los Angeles, gossip spread quickly, particularly when it featured scandal, treachery, and attractive people. Whispers had already started by the time Carter obligingly arrived to Forrester Creations the following morning, prepared for a typical day. As he got closer, he saw the sidelong looks, the barely concealed smirks, and the way individuals seemed to cut off their discussions. He quickly realized that something was seriously off. But Katie didn't show up for work that day. She required time to reflect and determine her next course of action. Should she stand up to him in front of everyone at Forrester, where he would be unable to retract or lie? Should she lay everything out on the table and insist on a private meeting? Alternatively, might she just allow her absence be more powerful than words, making Carter question and worry about what she knew? Whatever she decided, one thing was for sure, the trust she had so meticulously started to re-establish with Carter was now destroyed. He had crossed a line she couldn't ignore, whether he was aware of it yet. With her charming smile and cunning charm, Daphne Rose had turned out to be more dangerous than everyone had thought. Despite her injuries, Katie refused to play the defenseless victim. She was a Logan woman, strong, resilient, and more than capable of getting back up after being let down by the men in her life. No matter how Carter attempted to defend or explain it, Katie knew deep down that their relationship would never be the same again because of the repercussions that would follow from that one tragic moment at Il Giardino. Though Katie could eventually recover, she would never forget the picture of Carter and Daphne holding hands or the terrible lesson it taught her about loyalty, trust, and the falsehoods individuals commit when they believe no one is looking. Betrayal had a way of leaving lasting wounds. Liam's romantic advice in response to Katie's adamant demand. According to the bold and the beautiful spoilers for the week of April 28 to May 2, Ridge Forrester will make his decision, Liam Spencer will give some love counsel, and Katie Logan will make a strong demand. When Katie sees Daphne Rose and Carter Walton sharing a kiss, she will first become enraged. Additionally, Daphne and Zend Forrester Dominguez will be exposed for a chat that gives Katie away. Katie will want proof that Daphne was doing Steffi Forrester's, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, dirty work from the beginning as she presses Daphne for the truth. Even though Daphne is genuinely smitten with Carter, a doubtful Katie would argue that Carter should be aware of her intentions when she was making out with him. Katie believes that Daphne might still be planning something at this very moment. Katie would express her lack of faith in Daphne and probably decide to tell Carter the truth as soon as possible. It will be Ridge's time to gripe to Eric Forrester, Eric McCook, about the events of the fashion show after Steffi and Taylor had some significant tantrums over Brooke Logan's finale. Given that the showstopper was a hit and, presumably, reminded Ridge of his continued love for Brooke, Eric will jump to his own defense. Ridge will be conflicted on a certain level as he reflects on his romantic life. However, Ridge values the commitment he made to Taylor, therefore she will continue to be his loving partner. While Spencer lavishes Elector Forrester with attention after the jewelry line victory, Ridge will decline a reconciliation with Brooke once more. Will may wish that Electra would want to join him in the bedroom to celebrate, but she might back off and say she's not quite ready. Hope Logan will receive updates on some strange news in the meanwhile. Hope will be confused by Liam's new living situation, therefore she might end up with him living with Steffi and John Finnegan. Fans of B&B are aware that Liam has an incurable brain tumor, so it makes sense for him to be attentively watched. Liam will have to tell Hope some lies since he won't want to acknowledge the truth. Liam will be candid about one thing, though, the path he believes Hope's romantic life should go. Hope will have to choose whether or not to heed Liam's counsel to get back together with Carter. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, there will be some surprises as well as some significant love predictions over the week of April 28th to May 2nd. Zen's moral dilemma, Katie vs. Daphne, and Liam's big move. Here are the spoilers for the week of April 28, 2025, on The Bold and the Beautiful. Fans may anticipate Liam Spencer's new living situation next week. Daphne Rose is spied on by Katie Logan. That results in a heated altercation, but Zen Forrester Dominguez may also face criticism. Let's talk about the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The big move of Liam Spencer. Liam is likely to move next week, which raises doubts in Hope Logan's mind. It's obvious that Liam still doesn't want his fatal diagnosis to be known. What would he say to his loved ones, particularly the children, as he grows weaker and weaker? Liam will have a new living situation, although he is in severe denial at the moment. Liam may remain at Steffi Forrester Finnegan's house, it appears. I seem to remember that Paris Buckingham slept at a guest house on the grounds of the Cliff House. John Finnegan is a doctor who could handle any problems, and Steffi would feel more at ease with Liam nearby. But when Hope eventually gets to meet Liam again, what does he say to her? I hope Logan gave me encouragement. Carter Walton will also be seen pleading with Hope for another opportunity. Hope is still devastated and appears unsure. Liam was recently informed that he is dying, yet Hope has been thinking about him a lot lately. He may not want Hope to be harmed even though he is in denial. Perhaps this is the reason Liam urges Hope to give Carter another chance. Attack by Katie Logan. According to spoilers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Katie will ultimately spy on Carter and Daphne. Katie witnesses the nose-kissing Carter. There is a heated argument, so she must see and hear much more. After criticizing Daphne by herself, Katie queries whether she is merely there to carry out Steffi's dirty job. April 28, 2025, week. The truth about the showstopper scheme is also revealed to Steffi and Taylor Hayes. Because of his runway stunt, Ridge Forrester confronts Eric Forrester. But according to Eric, Ridge should be with Brooke Logan. In a sneak peek, Ridge adamantly declares his commitment to Taylor to his father. All of Forrester creations will be affected emotionally as Ridge Forrester finds himself in one of the most difficult situations of his life. Behind the glitz and glamour, there is tension so intense that a knife might cut through it, even as the fashion industry shines with new designs and long-standing rivalry. Ridge's familial allegiance and the indisputable emotional pull Brooke Logan still has over him are at odds with one another. Taylor Hayes attempts to act calm, but it's clear that Ridge's hesitancy is breaking her on the inside, and her previously tough demeanor begins to crumble in private. Brooke, meantime, is equally torn. Despite her pretense of moving on, she can't help but hope that Ridge would eventually discover where his heart really belongs. Hope Logan is battling her own issues elsewhere. She is greatly impacted by Liam Spencer's obstinacy and increasing detachment, particularly as he keeps making decisions that put Kelly at the center of them all and frequently leaves Hope and Beth out of his new priorities. Hope discovers something startling that has the potential to alter everything, but she isn't sure if she should share it or keep what's left of her heart safe. Finnegan, meantime, finds himself in the difficult position of having to strike a balance between maintaining patient confidentiality and his increasing urge to tell Steffi the truth about Liam's prognosis. Despite her intense protectiveness of Liam, Steffi is struggling to maintain her composure and is worried of how long she can continue to conceal secrets without facing repercussions. Personal conflicts are still sparked by business issues at Forrester Creations. Not everyone is willing to forgive Carter Walton, who is still dealing with the ramifications from the takeover fiasco. Tired with the internal strife, Eric Forrester convenes a private meeting to establish new guidelines. He is aware that Forrester may have to face an unimaginable future if Ridge doesn't take the initiative and lead clearly. Speaking of Eric, he has no problem tugging his own strings. His unexpected alliance with Brooke, intended to help guide Ridge back toward her, has the potential to either heal hearts or blow everything out of proportion. Meanwhile, the show's unexpected surprise appearances this week had viewers talking non-stop. New waves of nervousness are sparked by a resurfacing face from Brooke's romantic past, and Taylor's concerns that history might repeat itself seem increasingly plausible. Taylor makes a daring decision out of desperation that even she may come to regret, and it entails giving Ridge a startling ultimatum that viewers won't anticipate. Ridge's internal conflict is depicted in heartbreaking passages that show how divided he really is as the walls shut in around him. Viewers will be left wondering, would Ridge give in to the enduring attraction he still has for Brooke, or will he choose loyalty to his past with Taylor? The fact that Luna Nozawa is still torn between two worlds adds still another level of drama. Following a contentious argument with Hope and an odd meeting with Deacon Sharp, Luna starts to doubt her role at Forrester Creations and in the lives of everyone around her. For his part, Deacon appears to know more than he is disclosing, particularly regarding Luna's enigmatic past. Hope's gut tells her not to put too much confidence in people, and a shocking discovery could confirm her misgivings. In another scene, Bill Spencer makes a surprising proposition that has the potential to permanently alter the balance of power in Los Angeles. The most influential figures in the city are on the verge of colliding while Sheila Carter lurks in the background and Poppy makes her own moves. The fashion show extravaganza that everyone has been waiting for finally begins back at Forrester. However, with tensions at an all-time high with Taylor and Brooke backstage, what should be a celebration swiftly devolves into mayhem. Ridge is devastated by a startling backstage mishap, and the drama explodes on the runway in spectacular ways. Fans will be treated to a memorable scene in which personal grudges are displayed in public and secrets are revealed under the brightest of lights. In the midst of all of this, Steffi must make a decision that could permanently alter her family's destiny. Under pressure from Finn, troubled by Liam's failing health, and determined to save Kelly's world, Steffi is forced to make a difficult choice. Will she support Liam during his lowest point, or will she back off and let others handle what she is unable to? As fans see Steffi struggle with her conscience and the repercussions of every decision she takes, the anguish is evident. Liam's denial, which had previously given him strength, starts to break down. Even the iron determination that got him through his worst moments might not be enough to save him this time as his symptoms develop. As he sees Liam battle for his life, Ridge, who previously gave only harsh advice, is deeply disturbed and is forced to face his own shortcomings as a leader and father figure. Longtime fans will value the rawness that Ridge and Liam's sequences, which are among the most impactful of the week, bring to the program. The Bold and the Beautiful revolves around the theme of family, which is broken, imperfect, and somehow resilient. Alliances will be shattered, bonds will be put to the test, and the upheaval may even give rise to some unexpected partnerships. Every scene erupts with intensity and stakes that are unimaginably high, from Ridge's hard decision to Hope's mounting anxieties about the future, from Taylor and Brooke's acrimonious backstage altercation to Eric's backroom scheming. Fans of their favorite daytime soap can expect all of the following this week: passion, heartbreak, treachery, and a few unexpected moments of optimism. The Bold and the Beautiful promises to be must-watch television from beginning to end, regardless of your preferences for Ridge and Brooke, Taylor's forgiveness, Liam's miracle, or just every stunning turn. When it comes to love in particular, Carter Walton had always been a man who showed his affection for others. Additionally, it had been just as intense, if not more so, with Hope Logan. Carter had dared to hope, dared to believe, that perhaps, just possibly, he had finally met someone who noticed him, who genuinely appreciated his commitment, generosity, and unshakable devotion after years of heartbreaks and false starts. After the horrible betrayals he had experienced with Quinn and Zoe, Hope had been a beacon of light in the dark. Carter had come to the realization that there was no turning back from her brilliant smile, her soft understanding, and her effortless attractiveness. Hope Logan was the object of his affection. For a fleeting, brilliant moment, it appeared as though she might be able to return his love. However, everything fell apart one chilly afternoon at Forrester Creations when Hope mercilessly and completely broke Carter's heart into a million pieces with shaking hands and teary eyes. For weeks, months, or perhaps years to come, Carter would relive the event in his head in excruciating slow motion. He had been anxiously practicing his next words while he waited for her in the executive office. He was going to tell her that he was prepared to start a true future with her, one that was full of stability, love, and family. Carter had already dreamed of the wonderful life they could have together, complete with laughing, impromptu weekend vacations, warm family dinners, and endless evenings spent curled up in one another's arms. Hope's whole body language, however, conveyed a different message when she walked into the room. She was unable to look him in the eye. She fidgeted with her hands by her sides. As though the words themselves were too terrible to utter, her mouth opened once and then shut again. Nevertheless, Carter, ever the optimist, persisted. He expressed to her how much he valued her and how much he thought they could be together. He put everything on the line and let his heart be exposed and vulnerable. In the hopes that she would compromise, he awaited her answer. Instead, he received the cruelest, most devastating rejection he had ever known. "Carter, you're a good man, but I can't give you what you want. I'm sorry. I'll never love you the way you deserve to be loved," Hope whispered in a voice that broke as she spoke the words he would never forget. The air left Carter's lungs in that moment. It was a door slamming shut with finality, not simply a no. There was no place for hope. She didn't mention that she was puzzled, that she needed more time, or that perhaps things would change in the future. She understood Carter needed clarity, not empty promises, so she ripped him off at the root, mercilessly and cruelly. Nevertheless, the brutality of the punch was unabated by the good intentions behind it. The lady he loved looked at Carter with sympathy rather than desire as he stood there attempting to keep some kind of dignity. The words stuck in his throat like shards of glass as he nodded rigidly. In an attempt to soothe him, Hope extended her hand, but Carter reflexively withdrew. Her sympathy was too much for him. He couldn't stand to be the man she pitied. Before the walls closed in and the weight of his dashed hopes crushed him to the ground, he had to leave. Knowing that she had caused anguish to a guy who didn't deserve it, Hope watched him go, tears streaming down her face. However, she was also aware that it would have been more cruel to drag him along and offer him hope for a future she knew was unattainable. The emotions and wounds of a love story that would not go away were still too deeply embedded in her heart, along with Liam. Since she was still damaged and suffering from old wounds, she was unable to give Carter the love he deserved. Despite his best efforts to gather himself, Carter staggered into the hallway and felt as though every familiar area of Forrester Creations was mocking him. A universe based on illusions and fancies that he no longer believed in, the sketches on the walls, the fabric samples, and even the models laughing in the hallway all felt oppressive. He located a conference room that was unoccupied, shut the door, and then let the dam break. Silent, bitter tears streamed down his face as he dropped into a chair and buried his face in his hands. The man who had performed innumerable marriages and who had a stronger belief in love than anyone else, Carter Walton, suddenly understood what it was like to have hope torn from him in the most brutal manner. Among the Forrester crew, word spread quickly. Later that day, feeling that something was off, Donna attempted to contact Carter, but he dismissed her with a tight, fake smile. Carter couldn't stand the idea of sitting around being pity-faced, even while Ridge gave him a stiff drink and a sympathetic nod. He required time, space, and separation, particularly from Hope. It was as though a dagger was piercing his heart each time he saw her golden hair or heard her sweet chuckle. Hope, meanwhile, battled her own guilt. In her mind, she repeatedly reenacted the exchange, questioning whether she had been too severe or decisive. But she knew in her heart that there was no other option. Carter should have found a partner who would love him without conditions. Someone who would prioritize him. Hope was aware that she would never be that lady as long as she continued to dream of an impossible life and feel the pain of longing for a guy she would never be able to really have. Even though she had made the correct decision, it was still extremely painful. Weeks passed, and the stress at Forrester Creations was evident. Carter avoided Hope whenever he could and poured himself into his work with a chilly, mechanical efficiency. He was courteous, professional, and even charming when necessary, but the warmth that had once characterized him had vanished, leaving behind a vacuous, aloof version of the guy he had been. Carter dismissed his friends' worries about him with a level of comfort that was well practiced. He assured himself that he was good, that he didn't require affection, and that he would be better off concentrating on his work. Carter, however, realized the truth late at night, when everything was silent and no one remained to deceive. Hope Logan had shattered his heart, and he wasn't sure he would ever fully get over it. Hope was also plagued by the memories of her actions. Her stomach turned to knots as she saw glimpses of Carter across the room, the misery in his gaze, the slump of his shoulders. She wanted to get in touch, apologize once more, and somehow put things right. But she was wiser. Sometimes avoiding someone you've harmed is the most considerate thing you can do for them. Hope concentrated on her job, her kids, and attempting to put her increasingly broken life back together. However, the weight of what she had done to Carter, the decent man who had loved her without reservation and whom she had ruined with 4 heartbreaking words, would always be a part of her. Carter's cruel loss ultimately turned into yet another scar he would bear in silence, serving as a reminder that even the best of intentions can result in the most severe injuries. And Hope Logan would never forget the day she crushed a good man's ambitions to spare him from a lifetime of remorse and half measures, even though she tried her hardest to move on. They both discovered that love could be both beautiful and horrible, and that sometimes the cruelest mercy was letting go.